So I'm going to start with a demonstration of what... Oh, we got a question?
There's an error with the audio system.
An error with the audio system. Okay. All right, I think we're good to go. No, we're not good to go. Just a moment. Can we have at least one person confirm that they have audio? We're getting error messages on our end with the audio when we try and do a recording. If we can get at least one person to confirm with us. Okay, fantastic. So what this basically means is people who couldn't come may be out of luck because we may not be able to do a recording of this call. So yay for those of you who managed to make it. Okay, so I'm going to use two example searches in the Inform Hamilton database based on what they have told me they have mapped and ready to go. So thank you, Mark, for giving me some suggestions about things I could use to demonstrate. I'm going to start using earlier centers, which apparently are all mapped. So here we go. So just as usual, I brought up my... Oh, question is there?
Can people hear us? I was just getting audio. Okay, yeah. They should be able to hear us.
Okay.
Sorry, I just...
Here we go. All right, so I've just done a regular taxonomy search, and I have turned on in my view the ability to map my search results. So again, if you don't see a map result from any normal search in the database, either a basic or advanced search or taxonomy search, then the chances are that you have not turned map results on in your view. We currently don't have map results enabled for browse by organization, so don't be surprised if you don't see map results when you are doing a browse by organization. When I click map results, there we go, I'm going to have a list of all of the items that have been mapped available in my map. So in this case, the map is to the side. Depending on your screen resolution, you may find that the mapping is more efficiently done on the bottom of your screen, and you can switch between the two, especially if you have a large amount of data in your search results, like phone numbers, websites, or other things that take up a lot of screen width. You may decide that it's more efficient to have your search or your mapping results on the bottom of your screen. In this case, I'm going to move it back to the side. I'm going to use the scroll button on my mouse to activate the mapping zoom feature. You can see as I'm zooming in. You can also use the zoom feature that's right on the mapping toolbar to zoom in and out of areas of the map. If you use your mouse's scroll button, you'll find it's particularly effective because wherever your mouse is the area to which it will zoom. So it's a much more refined way of zooming in rather than having to use the on-map tool to zoom in, where it's just going to zoom in the center of the map, which may not be where you actually intend to do your zooming. So scrolling up and down will zoom in and out of your map. At any point, if I moved away from my original view of the map and I want to get back, you can click on the hand to reset to your last what we call a viewport, so the area of the map that was originally created to encompass all of your search results. You can also use the buttons around the hand to automatically scroll up and down, or you can click and hold the mouse button to pick up and move and drag the map around in the viewport to focus in on one particular area. I'm going to zoom in on one section of the map here, say downtown Hamilton, and select. Here I have 3 points have remained on my map as I zoomed in. You'll notice over on my search results that a number of these icons have grayed out. Results that are not on your map turn gray to allow you to distinguish between those results that are visible on your map and those results that are not. As you move around the map, you'll notice these changing. As I zoom in, you'll see more and more of my search results are included. So each time I zoom, you'll see more and more of my search results are available on the map. I can either click on an individual marker, is what we're calling these, map marker next to my search results to pop out its location, including ones that are grayed out. So I can scroll up to one that's grayed out and click on it. It will refocus my map, and it's then in, even if I unselect this item, you'll see that it's now selected because it's now visible in my viewport. Okay. Or you can also click on any item on the map, and it will automatically make that result visible in your search results and highlight it so that you can see which item you are looking at. So if I click one over here, you'll see it scrolled to that search result to make sure that it was visible, did a call out indicating where on the map that item was, and both highlighted the search result from within the list. With any search result in the list, I can either, as usual, click on the name or record number depending in order to bring up the record details, or I can click the More Info button from any search result on my map to bring up the record details page. And again, this at any time I can switch this to the bottom or whatever is most convenient for me while I'm viewing this record. From within viewing the record details, I still have the option to navigate to other search results in my map, and I can also use the next buttons. As I do so, it navigates around my map, showing me where I am in my search results based on the data in the map. If a particular record is not mapped, it will not do a call out on your map. So I know the first result in my list, the official website for child care, did not have a mapping result, so you'll see there's no call out on my map because that particular record, although it's available in my total list, was not part of what was mapped because it doesn't have a physical location. At any time, I can click Total to go back to my list of search results, and again, I can continue to navigate through any part of the results in my list. Does anyone have any questions so far? Besides the regular view, you have a few options to switch the way that you're viewing the data. These are the same as the options you would see if you're using regular Google Maps. You can switch to satellite, or my personal favorite, which is the hybrid model, which is a combination of the buildings and the actual streets. This is particularly effective when you do geocoding, which I'll show you later, in that you have the opportunity to actually place your markers right on the physical buildings which represent the services. This can be very easy to do in the case of hospitals, universities, large buildings, where it's very easy to see the results. Now you'll notice the little buses, I'm assuming. If you have a keen eye, you'll have noticed these little buses. That is because the City of Hamilton has partnered with Google to map their transit systems in Google Maps. So in this particular case, the user is not only able to see the mapping of the services, but they can also see the individual bus stops that are available in the area that you are viewing. That is not available in every city, obviously. I know that it's in Hamilton. I think it might be in Ottawa. I think Markham, I'd have to look it up again. But there are several major cities in Ontario that do offer this transit service, which can obviously be extremely useful both for the user and the person making a referral to be able to tell them, oh, there's a bus stop that you can get off at the corner of Roxborough and Bellin Avenue. So that's just yet another useful feature. If you are finished with the map at any time, you can close that map. To get the map back, I can simply click Map Results again, and my map is returned. Again, I can at any time click the hand to zoom out to all of the locations that I had originally mapped. Okay. One of the things I did want to point out is that if you take certain actions in the context of working with your search results, for instance, saving your search, it is going to break you out of the map, okay? So be aware that updating your records, even changing your view, all of these things currently will completely break you out of the map. And in order to get it back, you would have to return to your original search results and click that Map My Results again. In most cases, we do try and have the back button and forward button work as expected, but do be aware that if you leave the loving confines of any page that has a map on it, you will lose your map when you use your back button, and in most cases return back to your original search results. I'll just give you an example of how that happens here. So if I click on, let me go back, sorry, to my total, and map my results, and I go into the official website for child care, I go to update the record. Okay. If I go back, you'll notice I didn't go back to the record. I went back to my original search results. So that is one of the enhancements that we do hope to be making, is to try and better manage the back button when you've left the map and return. But do be aware that that is expected behavior at the moment, and if you do leave pages with the map and use the forward and back buttons to go back, you will return to your search results. However, when you are in your search results, map again here, we have made the effort when you are in your search results such that the forward and back buttons do work. Okay, so whenever the map is present, you can count on the forward and back buttons to work. It's only if you leave the mapping area and try to go back to the mapping area that it will reset to your original search results. Okay, I'm going to go here. So the next thing I'm going to show you is geocoding. Geocoding is a critical step in making this mapping work. If you do not geocode your records, this service will not be available. So everyone's update forms should now have this geocoding info field added to them if there was a site address field present on your update form. So what I did was ran a query that added in the geocoding info field right onto your update forms for you if you already had the site address field present. The process of mapping your record is extremely simple. By default, all your records will start off as blank, do not geocode. If you have a site address present, you can try and click site address data, and Google will do its best to map your location. If it finds that the location does not exist, it will pop up a little alert saying that the location that you're trying to find doesn't exist. So, give an example. Change that to Timbuktu. I'll refresh. No corresponding location to be found for the specified address, because there is no, whatever it is, north in Timbuktu. So if this is particularly going to be the case for rural areas, that you may find that the mapping system is just not smart enough to know where your addresses are. Sorry? Or very new neighborhoods, right. So the mapping data is not up to date. It can be up to 2 years or more out of date. So that does mean that if you have a brand new subdivision, you should not expect the system to be able to automatically map your information. You will find that sometimes you can do better with intersection, and that may be adequate for your purposes. So in some cases, just by clicking intersection, that will at least get you close to the final result that you...
Change the city back, or it's not going to work.
Oh, it was fine. It got another mailing address anyway. So when you click intersection, the software does have to use information elsewhere in the page in order to determine where your intersection is, because Wentworth Street and Barton Street could be anywhere in the world. It attempts to determine the city and province and country and so on based on the address information if it exists. If it doesn't, you always have the option of adding your city and province to the intersection field, and that will be sufficient to tell Google Maps that that intersection belongs to that city and province, and will usually then give you a successful mapping result. As you saw me do earlier, you can click the refresh button at any time on site address or intersection to reflect any changes that you have made to the address or intersection while you were updating the record. However, when you submit the form, the software automatically updates your geocoding information at the time that you submit. So, right?
It does it when you load the form.
Not when you submit? Okay, well, it should. All right, well, Chris and I have a miscommunication because I wanted it to set it when you submit the form, and apparently it does it when you add. It will do it when you submit the form, so the idea being if you make a change to the address, you don't have to manually come and click refresh. It would automatically refresh for you at the time that you submit the information. If you find that you have an address that simply cannot be mapped automatically, you have the choice to do a manual map placement. And again, if you wanted to do something like, oh, this is in Mohawk College, I'm going to plunk it right on the Mohawk College campus, you also have that option. If you do a manual map placement, you may want to write a note about why you did a manual map placement, something to remind the person who does the updating about whether or not they want to pay attention to that in some special way in order to correct the map placement or keep it up to date. If you do make a habit of doing manual map placements, you should make a review of the geocoding field be a normal part of your review of the record and make it the policy that anyone who changes address or intersection information review the geocoding field to ensure that it remains up to date with the rest of the record. Okay, any questions? Okay, well, if there's no questions about the functionality we have now, this is the same as what we saw earlier where you can view different views of it, and we have our zoom in and out. It has the same, you can use your mouse scroll bar and your drag, the same as we could on the other map as well. So if there's no questions about that, I wanted to take some time to discuss the enhancements that we hope to be making to the mapping features of the software. So I've made some entries on the enhancements database of some of the things that we believe are key changes that we would like to make to the mapping system, and I'm going to go through them. Create mapping categories. I think this is a really, really important one. The idea here would be that you could set up for your database a number of categories of organization or program and assign each of those categories their own marker color. The idea being that you could make all the schools be blue, all of the faith groups be purple, and so on and so forth, allowing you to distinguish between different kinds of organizations on the map, and ideally also be able to show or hide particular groups of information. So if I'm doing a child care search and I want all of the home child care providers to be mapped as green and all of the license centers to be mapped as blue, I can decide at any time to show only the license centers on the map and hide the registry caregivers, or vice versa, so that you can more easily distinguish between various kinds of organizations on the map. And these categories would be whatever was appropriate for your database, so something that each database could configure themselves and decide what the marker colors were and what those categories were that were appropriate for them. That's number one. Show results near. The idea here is the geocoding interface that we just looked at that allows you to enter an address and it would find that location on the map, that we would add that to the advanced search form, allowing you to enter an intersection, an address, or other kind of location information, even a manual placement, and indicate that you want to find results within a certain distance of that location. So if someone says, I really need to find a service within 5 kilometers of this intersection, you could enter that intersection in, say, I want results in 5 kilometers, and whatever other search criteria you might need, and it would automatically place that location on your map when you do your search results, and would only return the records that fall within that 5-kilometer radius of the point that you selected. Bulk geocoding. There's two things to consider in this. One is none of you have any geocoding data right now, and obviously in order to use this feature to its full capabilities, all of your records have to be geocoded. There is an offer from Find Help to make available the geocoding data that they currently have. I don't know how many of your records it's actually going to cover. I don't know how up to date it is. I can't say any of that, but there is an open offer. However, any member that wants to take them up on that would be responsible for the cost to load that data in, which would probably be, maybe an hour per member, so maybe $60 to load in any of the geocoding data that Find Help has currently obtained, and then you would only be responsible for updating it and dealing with any records that weren't part of that data set. But besides that, we would really like to build in a feature that allowed you to do bulk geocoding on your own. So the ability to either update or add or change the geocoding information on a group of records at once. Import-export geocoding data. The main draw here is hopefully the opportunity to send this information to Find Help so that if you have to manually correct a placement, that would then be reflected on 211ontario.ca. Adding a map placement option to the feedback form so that you would have the opportunity to get feedback from the organization about where their marker was placed on the map, or if it was placed on the map. The ability to insert a Google map on the details page. So if you had geocoded your record, you would have the option of including a special version of the site address field on your details pages. We would call site address map. And if you had included site address map on your details page, then it would include a little tiny map similar to the one that you see when you do your geocoding next to the site address. Even if it was mapped by intersection, it would still show next to the site address or manual placement. So it wouldn't necessarily be mapping the exact site address. It's just saying that it would show the map next to the site address.
When searching, we have a question about will we be able to search for records with no geocoding?
Can you search for records? Well, right now you can really easily search for records with no geocoding using AddSQL. We can have an enhancement to be able to search the geocoding information. So, for instance, show only ones that are mapped to site address, show ones that are blank, etc. Right now, you absolutely can do those searches using AddSQL. I did give Mark some instructions on the bulletin board, and I do plan on updating the AddSQL help page with information on how to search those geocoding fields. I've just realized that I missed something in this list of enhancements. The ability to temporarily change views without losing the map. So as I explained earlier, if I am in, here we go. If I go into record details and I say I want to change views, it will break me out of my map. Okay? So it's because it's a lot more complicated for us to do the change view, and the reason is that when we put you into the details page of any one of these records, you are not leaving your search results. We are actually fetching and inserting the record details data in the middle of the page rather than loading a brand new page. This is actually the exact same header that we had when you had your search results. We're just inserting some new data into it. And the problem with changing your view is, of course, it changes your header and footer and everything else on the page. It's a completely different structure of page. It will not look the same, and we can't simply insert the record details data into the middle. So that's the only reason that you cannot do it now, is because it does involve a bit more of a level of complexity to allow you to do your temporary change view within your map. check all in Viewport. The idea of this enhancement is when I am doing my search and I zoom in to one particular area, and as we indicated earlier, we have some of these items that have been grayed out. It's likely that we might want to make a new result set of just the ones that are in our viewport. Remember, that's this area of the map. It's called our viewport. So right now what you can do is easily see that based on the ones that aren't gray, but you have to scroll down and manually click all of the red ones. The idea here would be next to check all and uncheck all, we would have check all in viewport. And when I would click on that, it would automatically select all of the ones that are red, all of the ones that are in my viewport area. And then I would be able to do my new result set that only contained the ones in my viewport. Printable maps. The idea here would be that you can generate a map with, it would only work on a list of under 1,000 records. You can generate a map where your markers are numbered between 1 and 999, and your search results would be listed underneath the map. So the report would include a full-size map of the items in your search results mapped with each marker numbered, and then it would be followed by your list of search results along with the number that corresponds to the marker on the map, allowing you to, say, print a map including a legend of all of the earlier centers in your area, or all of the licensed centers in a particular neighborhood of your area, and produce that either for funders or for clients or whatever the case may be. Okay, next. Ability to resize your map, pretty simple. Right now there's a default size of your map, and depending on your screen, that's going to eat up more or less of your screen size. So in this case, it's eating up a full half of my screen size. In my normal display, which is much larger, it's only a small bar on the top of the screen. And the same is true with the side. In this case, it's eating up a full, more than a third of my screen, which may be more than I care to devote to it. Or in the case of my usual screen size, I could actually devote quite a lot more of my screen to the map without it interfering with my ability to view my results. So the idea here would be that you would have the ability to either increase or decrease the size of the map on your screen, instead of having the fixed amount that we currently have. We already discussed the forward and back buttons. Preferred map focus. So when you are doing geocoding or you do a search for records that have no map information, the map defaults to Canada. So, let me see if I can, here we go, here's one. So when I go to update this record and look at the geocoding information, which doesn't exist, you can, I'll scroll out now. It basically defaults like this to Canada, and the same is true if you perform a search where none of your search results appear on the map. And the idea here would be that it would that you could specify the default zoom level and location, so that, for instance, the people working in Hamilton could have a default zoom that contains their service area rather than all of Canada, which is not particularly helpful as a starting place. And the one that isn't in my list but should be is for those finicky addresses that cannot be mapped by Google, either because they are too new or too rural. Add some enhancements to our current map links feature that allows you to create a version of Google Maps or any mapping system to which you send geocoding data. This would have to be in addition to the regular one you have now, but for those particular records that you know are going to be finicky, you can choose to use sort of Google Maps alternate, if you will, that instead of sending the address information would send the geocoding information and allow you to be very explicit about where that is mapped. And instead of having to have that particular record say do not map or use a completely different system like MapQuest that might be doing a better job, it would allow you to stay consistent with the mapping system that you prefer to use, because it will send the geocoding data, which is going to be accurate and exactly where you've decided to place it. Chris, I think did you want to talk about the mind maps, or?
No.
Okay, I think we're going to leave it at that. We do have some other ideas, but the ones that we presented so far are the ones that we think are going to be the high benefit changes, although obviously we're very keen to hear from any of you who have some ideas about how you want to be using the mapping technology, and also if you have any questions about how this would work or how to get started, please ask away, and otherwise we'll wrap up. So has anyone got any questions?
If you have a question and you want to speak, you can raise your hand and I'll unmute you, or you can type your question.
Oh, there's a question next to Ivan, and I don't see it.
You in Google Earth.
I don't know. Do you have anything to say about that one?
I don't think that would be a particularly hard one to do, but I don't know whether that's a high impact enhancement. I don't use Google Earth, so I guess I'm not. I'm not up on what the benefit of that would be. But I'm willing to be convinced, and if other people are interested and someone wants to fund it, I don't see why we wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah.
So the enhancements that we talked about there, we potentially have a funder for at least some of them, which would mean that we might be able to have those enhancements, especially, I guess, the low-hanging fruit, which I think we have sorry, when will we have the map results button? You have it right now.
Yeah, everybody has
turn it on in your view. Everybody
has this right now. So any of you who want to use it, you can use it immediately. You all have these features except Toronto. Sorry, Toronto. Everybody but Toronto has these features right now. You just need to turn it on. So geocoding should already be on your update form, and all you need to do to add it to a view is go into your view setup. I can even show you. Go into your view setup, main menu, setup, views, view edit, and map search results with Google Maps. Just check it and submit, and that's it. It will be available. Obviously, you don't want to add this to your public searches until it's ready for prime time. However, I do have to inform everyone of a very important piece of information. The use of the Google Maps API is contingent on your intention to offer at least some mapping services to the public, okay? This is very, very important. If you do not have any intention to offer mapping services to the public, you are potentially out of compliance with the terms of use of the Google API. Now, what those services are relatively flexible. So, for instance, if we add the feature to allow you to have the Google Maps on your feedback forms, that would be sufficient. That is a use that is available to the public, okay? So what you make available to the public is very, very flexible, but if you don't have any intention of ever making any services available to the public, your use is potentially cloudy, okay? So that is really important to note. And for those of you that have special website addresses that aren't a CIOC.ca name, and we haven't already activated it for you in the case of, we've done it for HipInfo, InformedHamilton.ca, I don't think we've done it for anyone else. So if you have a special website address and you want to activate the Google API in that special address, you must contact us individually to have this activated and added into the software. We have to generate a Google API key for your domain name, and then we have to enter that key into the software so that the software can appropriately send that information. If you have a CIOC.ca name, you're covered, because our CIOC.ca API key is going to work for all of the subdomains of CIOC.ca.
So we have a question about what the notes field is for.
Okay, the notes field is intended for if you use the manual map placement. It's just an opportunity for you to write a little note to yourself about whether if there's a special reason why you had to do a map placement. For instance, the subdomain as a subdivision doesn't exist in Google Maps, or it's incorrectly mapping a rural address. We've certainly had occasions where Google Maps has mapped completely ridiculous placements for certain things, like Afghanistan. So if there's a case like that, you basically want to write a little note to yourself or the other data managers to tell them why you had to do a manual map placement. One bizarre example is in Inform Hamilton, I couldn't get Joseph Brant Hospital to map. Really strange. I could see it there in pink on the map, and I had the address correct, but for some reason Google Maps just was choking every time. So all I did was drag it and drop it right onto the little pink box that was Joseph Brant Hospital, and all was well.
Yes, Mark, the notes field can be searched with @SQL.
Oh yes, all of the geocoding fields can be searched with @SQL. So if you did have to search for any records that had special notes in their maps and their geocoding data, for instance, you could do that. Okay. Does anyone have anything they'd like to suggest that we put in to our list of enhancements, or this is probably already a lot to throw at you? Do you have another question? No? Okay. All right. Well, if we're good, then I encourage you all to get mapping. And again, if you do want to look into bringing in the data from 211ontario.ca or some other means to get all of your records as automatically geocoded as possible, you can get in touch with me privately, but that won't be covered by CIOC. So anything special that we do to assist you in doing any mass geocoding of your information would have to be covered by the individual member. Okay? But hopefully we will at least find funding for the both geocoding tool, and then everyone will be able to use it and it won't matter. Okay, I'm going to take us off the air.